From the 25, Roethlisberger pulls it back, throws, has Juju Smith-Schuster. What a start to the night. One play, bang, touchdown
Steelers. The Eagles take over at the 17. Foles steps up. Foles delivers. Deep one-on-one. It's caught. Aguilar. Bye-bye. Touchdown. Eagles.
Steps into it. Pass is caught. Diggs. Sideline. Touchdown.
All right, what is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Heated Sports Podcast. Once again, my name's Justin. Across from me, we have Kevin, and we're just going to, again, get right into it. So, Week 7 coming up here starting tonight as we're recording, Chiefs and Broncos. Not really much to say about this matchup. The Chiefs have kind of lost the last couple matchups they've had against the Texans and against the Colts the week before that. So, definitely looking to get back on track. I think we both agree that they will, so I won't touch on that at all. So yeah, when you're watching this, hopefully that's the case and we don't make a fool of ourselves right now. But getting into the breaking news that we had, again, while we were recording this, broke out the other day. Jalen Ramsey finally on the move. Jacksonville finally pulled the trigger, getting rid of Jalen Ramsey, sending him across the country pretty much to the LA Rams. And the LA Rams kind of gave up a bunch of picks for them. So the rumors going around, apparently Jacksonville wanted at least 2 first-round picks, and when that broke out initially, when Ramsey wanted out, I mean, we kind of saw what happened. Not really many offers came in. Some teams showed some interest, but the Rams pulled the trigger, and they gave them their 2020 and 2021 first-round draft picks, and I think the 4th-round pick in 2021 as well. So 3 pretty solid draft picks, including those 2 firsts for Jalen Ramsey. Personally, I mean, I think it's a good deal for both sides. I mean, looking at where these 2 franchises are at, the Rams are all in. If they weren't already all in after coming off that Super Bowl loss that last year, they're definitely all in now. That defense, especially the secondary, has looked rough the last couple weeks. So getting Jalen Ramsey in there, replacing Marcus Peters, who we'll get into in a second, I mean, it definitely just beefs up that secondary, beefs up that defense as a whole. And I mean, I think just solidifies that the Rams are going to be dangerous this year. Once they get Gurley back and healthy, back up Malcolm Brown, running backs also kind of banged up. So once everybody's healthy and everybody's kind of in place, I think the Rams are going to be there come playoff time. And I mean, just on the flip side real quick with Jacksonville, they're in rebuild mode regardless. They have some solid pieces in place. They're probably going to be around a 500 team this year, whether it's Minshew or Foles at quarterback at the end of the season. But yeah, I mean, those draft picks will surely help them kind of in that rebuild process sooner rather than later, since the picks are just for this coming off season and then next year. So I'm definitely anxious. I'm glad a deal finally got done, because Jalen Ramsey, in my opinion, is the best corner in football. So we'll actually get to see him on the football field now. So I mean, what was your take from all this? Do you think there was a clear winner, or kind of agree with me that it was kind of good for both sides, needed to happen? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to start off by saying I think Jacksonville, they won. You got 2 first-round picks for their guy. I think that's as good as you could have asked for, even with his talent. And you don't have to pay him. This guy's going to soon be the highest-paid corner in the league, and they're just avoiding that contract. They're obviously going to miss the talent, but for 2 first-round picks, I mean, it's not a bad deal for the Jaguars. And I kind of took this as a desperation move from the side of the Rams. Because
100%, yeah.
I think they looked at their division. They saw the 49ers kind of out of nowhere being one of the best teams in the league. And then obviously the Seahawks are doing their thing with Russell Wilson. And the Rams haven't looked that good. So this was a little bit of a desperation move to me. But it's interesting on where they put where they addressed their needs, because if I had to guess, I would have thought the Rams would go out and sign someone to help their offense, because their offensive line is atrocious. It's one of the worst in the league. So it was interesting to me that they added another piece to the defense in Jalen Ramsey. It's not going to help their offensive woes whatsoever, which over the past couple weeks was probably the main reason the team is not winning games. But I think it's going to help them in the long run. They gave up a lot of capital, but Jalen Ramsey is going to elevate that defense. He's going to take a load off of that extremely talented defensive line. And I think this is basically the Rams and Sean McVay's way of saying they have faith in their offense. They have faith in Sean McVay that he's going to turn things around. The offensive line will probably be blocking better soon. And I think the Rams will get back on track with this trade because their defense got better, and I think what this tells me is they have confidence in their offense, going to be able to turn things around, and they're really going to be looking to compete this year.
Yeah,
it's almost
man.
another Super Bowl or bust year for them.
Yeah, I mean, I would say definitely at least the next 2 years. Like, if they don't get a Super Bowl in this season or next season with those first-round picks gone, I mean, it's gonna maybe raise some questions or like aggravate some of the fan base for sure. But just to play devil's advocate, I mean, the defense definitely needed some help. I mean, the 49ers kind of ran all over them last week. A few weeks ago, Jameis Winston and company, who we'll also get into a little bit later, put up 50 points on them and upset them a few weeks ago as well. So, I mean, the defense, I also think, needed some help. Definitely the offensive line has looked rough. Blocking for Gurley and Malcolm Brown last week just really wasn't even doing anything. Like, they really just couldn't get the run game going at all these last couple weeks. But yeah, I mean, you really can't say that Jalen Ramsey is not going to help elevate your football team, no matter what side of the ball maybe he needs more help. So, I mean, this is really going to help a team that's ready to win now. But yeah, I mean, I would have to say they have to be pushing for a wild card spot at this point, because looking at that 100%. Division, like you mentioned, you have San Francisco and Seattle Seahawks both up there combined for one loss. So, I mean, neither of those teams are going anywhere, I think. So, it's hard to imagine seeing the Rams coming out on top in that division ahead of those two guys. Being, already like 3 games behind of the division lead. So, it's not looking good, but, I mean, definitely a team of this caliber, this type of talent on the roster, the type of talent with the coaching staff and Sean McVay, who I'm still a firm believer in. I mean, they could easily get a wild card spot in the NFC this year for sure.
Yeah, I do believe they're going to turn it around, and they better, because if they don't, a couple years down the line, this is going to be a highly questionable trade for them. But they had no cornerbacks left. Aqib Talib's on IR, and they traded Marcus Peters. So that trade came out first, Peters to the Ravens, which we'll get into. But it just surprised me a lot, because why would they trade the only corner they have left? But then once they signed Ramsey, it made a lot more sense to me, and I'm sure everyone.
Yeah.
So they filled the void they had at cornerback with the best guy possible. So good move by the Rams. That defense is probably going to step up and win the Rams some games, contrary to what they've been running with the last year or two, with relying on the offense putting up absurd amount of points and just the running game, everything like that. So it's going to fall on the defense now to win the Rams some games and hopefully get them to a playoff spot.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree with that too. It's definitely going to be they're going to rely on the defense a lot more because they have that extra talent added to the team. But just to transition here a little bit. So what the Rams did before signing trading for Jalen Ramsey was earlier on Tuesday trading their current cornerback and Marcus Peters, shipping him off to Baltimore to kind of make room for that extra cornerback coming in later on that day. Obviously, at the time, we didn't know that was coming, but a lot of people kind of speculated. Marcus Peters, I would say, is at least an average cornerback, definitely one of the top guys that the Rams had at the time. So why are they getting rid of him unless they're kind of making room for a big guy like Jalen Ramsey? So Marcus Peters is off to Baltimore, traded in exchange for a linebacker, Kenny Young, and a undisclosed draft pick, and a fifth round. Actually, it looks like it was.
Fifth round was undisclosed.
Okay, so that was the fifth round.
Yeah.
Fifth round pick. I had to keep reading there a little bit. So yeah, Marcus Peters for Kenny Young. I mean, you're a Baltimore fan. Not really sure if you're worried about losing him at all. The fifth round pick, I really don't think is too much of a bargain or too much of a price either. Marcus Peters is going to help your defense now. So, I mean, as a Baltimore fan, are you excited to have him on the team this year?
Extremely excited about this trade. First of all, what we gave up, Kenny Young, our inside linebacker, who's been nothing but disappointing since he was on the team. A lot of potential. Hopefully he can make it happen on the Rams. I think there's a possibility he does, but as far as his Ravens career goes, he was awful, he was disappointing, and he got beat out for his inside linebacker job by 2 guys the Ravens pretty much picked off the streets in LJ Bynes and Josh Fort, who were free agents, signed, and were immediately placed ahead of Kenny Young on the depth chart. So to me, Young was headed more towards being cut than anything else. So this to me is almost a freebie. Like Young, I don't think
not really giving up anything then. Essentially,
I don't think Young was going to be on the team much longer, based on his performance. And the 5th round pick, the Ravens had 2 5th round picks because they traded their backup kicker to the Vikings.
Oh, okay.
So, in essence, another kind of freebie,
for sure,
little giveaway to the Rams. So we have Marcus Peters. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, so there's no guarantee he's going to be on the team moving forward. But he fills such an extremely needed void that the Ravens have this season with the cornerback position. At the beginning of the year, the Ravens secondary looked scary. Tony Jefferson, Earl Thomas, and then cornerbacks Marlon Humphrey, Jimmy Smith, and Tavon Young. Young went down, Jefferson went down, and Jimmy Smith's been hurt too.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been a very depleted secondary for sure for you guys so far.
They went from being stacked to almost completely depleted, so Marcus Peters will fill that void. I want to touch on, you called him average. I think he's an above average corner.
You think so?
I think he is one of the most overrated players in the NFL, but him on the Ravens defense is exciting to me because he's not going to have to be that top number 1 corner guy. We have Marlon Humphrey, who is a top 2 cornerback in the league, and Marcus Peters will have the privilege of playing across from him, not covering the team's number 1 receiver. So I think he has an opportunity to thrive on this Ravens defense even more so than we saw on the Rams. This guy, like I said, I think he's overrated. He has a lot of potential, though. Defensive rookie of the year, multiple Pro Bowls, I think an all-pro selection as well. So I'm really excited as a Ravens fan for this trade. I hope and I believe that we'll re-sign him before this year is over because I don't think Jimmy Smith will be a part of the Ravens moving forward, and I think he'll be a great piece on our defense across from Marlon Humphrey, and I'm just really excited to watch him play. Hopefully he gets his first start this week against the Seahawks. I think he is planning on it.
I was going to say, I was just going to kind of, like, that was going to be my transition just to end it, is that, it looks like reports right now that both these guys are going to be playing with their new teams on Sunday. So the Jalen Ramsey for the Rams and Marcus Peters for Baltimore, both looking to play for their new teams this week. Again, really a short week of practice, but most of the, like, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are normally walkthroughs anyway. So they'll get a good day of practice on Friday, and then most likely just get suited up on Sunday from what I've been looking at so far. So that'll be cool. Just some new players and some new uniforms to kind of look out for when we're watching the games on Sunday.
Yeah, awesome trade. Really excited as a Ravens fan to see this. And overall, I don't think anyone really lost out of all the teams involved. The 2 players traded, I think everyone got better. I think the players are in a better situation now. So really everyone won, in my opinion. I don't know if you disagree with that at all. But one thing we didn't touch on is the Rams took a little bit of a risk here because Jalen Ramsey is going to be a free agent as well. So there's no guarantee that they sign him. So it's a small possibility, but there's a chance that they end up giving up 2 first-round picks for a not even full season rental. But just something to think about.
It's definitely
very unlikely.
Yeah, I would definitely say very, very unlikely. I mean, you don't give up that kind of capital unless you're confident that, 1, he wants to be there long term, and 2, that you're going to sign him long term. Like, if that's even like up in the air, like you're not 100% sure, then you're not giving that type of draft capital for that guy, I don't think. But yeah, definitely something else to keep in mind, especially with Marcus Peters, same thing. Even though that trade was more of a freebie, I could definitely see him being signed with Baltimore, at least for the next couple years. Maybe even, like you said, before the season wraps up. So we'll have to wait and see there. But I want to transition here now to some 2015 quarterbacks. So our guys, shouldn't even say, they're not our guys, but we like to talk about them a lot.
Winston's kind of my guy. I've been a big fan of his ever since he was drafted.
Yeah, so Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, top 2 overall picks in 2015, have looked very bad this season. Mariota ultimately getting benched in their matchup last week against Denver, taking the loss, and having Ryan Tannehill fill in and play out the rest of the second half. People kind of speculated that throughout the season. Mariota hasn't really been playing too well the entire year so far, so them going out and getting Ryan Tannehill in the offseason, obviously going to stir up the pot, raise some conversations, bring up the question when or if Ryan Tannehill will go in, and it looks like he's going to be there, and I'm really not sure what you do now because Mariota's been struggling. Maybe just see what Tannehill has to offer. I mean, it seems like that's probably the route they're going to take. But on the flip side, just to keep going with Winston as well, Winston had 5 turnovers in their London matchup last week against the Panthers.
Yeah, I guess you started him in fantasy.
You must have started him in fantasy. I apologize. I actually played against him in fantasy and still ended up losing, so I don't want to get into all of that. But yeah, Jameis Winston looks just as bad. I mean, he's more of a gunslinger. He's getting the yards. He's getting the garbage touchdowns compared to Mariota, but he's just been so sloppy with the football. So very 2 diverse reasons for their below average play, I would say, but nonetheless, neither of these guys, in a contract season no less, are really playing how they should be as a starter in the NFL. So I mean, what do you make of these 2 guys? I mean, do you have confidence that one or both of them can turn it around? Do you even think Mariota's going to keep playing? Like, I mean, at least for Winston's case, Winston's playing the whole year. They really don't. I couldn't even tell you who the backup quarterbacks are on their roster. So regardless, they have Bruce Arians in there as head coach. At the beginning of the season, apparently Arians was a big fan of Winston, so I don't see Winston going to the bench anytime soon. But when you have Tannehill in the back for Tennessee, I'm not sure how they're gonna play the situation out. It's definitely pretty interesting.
Yeah, so both of these guys, I believe at this point in their career, are busts, 1 and 2 overall picks. I'll briefly touch on Mariota. I don't want to talk about him a lot because I don't think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he has been, and I don't think he will be. Tennessee Titans need to move on. Jameis Winston is a player that has been more intriguing to me over the years because I've seen a lot more potential in
I'll say
Jameis,
he's definitely shown
opinion.
flashes for sure.
And this was the year he was highly talked about over the offseason with the signing of Bruce Arians as their head coach, a quarterback, pretty much God. Like, this guy is one of the best coaches you can ask for from a quarterback perspective, on an insane offense with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and O.J. Howard, a great tight end who's been almost irrelevant. But Winston had so much potential moving into the season. Everything was in his favor, the coach, the offense, and it's maybe one of his worst seasons to date. I mean, I don't have the numbers or anything, but just watching him play, it's not been good. So this was his kind of prove-it year, and so far it doesn't look like he's coming up whatsoever. So both these guys, yeah, going forward, I feel bad for the organizations. They pretty much have to move on.
I was going to say, will they be backups next year?
Mariota, yes. Winston, it's going to be tough.
Because like I said, they're both in contract years right now. So whether they're backups with their current teams or if they say the Bucs don't want to re-sign Winston anymore, you'd have to assume that these guys would still have a job in the NFL, but I don't think they would be starters. If someone lets Winston go...
Quick prediction. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead. What's up?
Mariota is going to be a backup on a different team following this season. Winston is going to be back on the Buccaneers,
but maybe
probably fighting for a starting job.
I was going to say maybe go after a free agent or like draft. The quarterback heavy draft this year, I wanted to mention as well. So I mean, maybe the Bucs still go after a top pick, sign Winston for probably cheaper than what they would have if he ended up playing well this season. So maybe get Winston back for a bargain and give him some competition next year.
And we do have over half the season left, so I think Winston, easily over Mariota, has an opportunity to hopefully turn his stock around.
Keep the job, yeah.
There's potential there for Winston, not so for Mariota. His time's kind of over. He missed his opportunity. Winston has a very small window to turn things around.
Yep.
But just saying the chance is still there for him.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Just to wrap up, I mean, it's definitely tough for Mariota's case having like a guy like Tannehill back there, who also isn't an overwhelmingly like dangerous quarterback, but a guy that's had starting experience. Really didn't have a great opportunity in Miami with how rough Miami's looked the last couple years. But you have Tannehill in there now, so maybe with the new team he can maybe turn some things around for Tennessee. But sounds like we're both kind of panicking on Mariota a little bit, so I want to transition with this theme of panic and talk about some teams as a whole. So pushing the panic button on any of these franchises. So Dallas, LA Rams, or the LA Chargers. All three of these teams, I think, at least for me, I had pretty high hopes for them going into the season. I think I had all three of them making the postseason in one way, shape, or form. All three of them have looked pretty rough the last couple weeks, with Dallas getting upset by Sam Darnold being back for the Jets. We already kind of talked about the Rams getting destroyed by the 49ers, and the Chargers losing to my Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football. That defense looked really good, but
third string.
Rivers struggled. Yeah, third string quarterback, never made a start in his life. Devlin Hodges for Pittsburgh. Should have been an easy win for the Chargers, and they just didn't get it done. So are you pushing the panic button on one of these teams, multiple teams? Like, what are you worried about any of them? What do you think?
Rams we touched on earlier.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, just like to butt in again, like real quick, I don't think for the Rams, I don't really think we're too worried.
Agreed.
With Ramsey being there now especially, I would definitely have them at the top. But I mean, I guess more specifically the other two now, because we kind of had that topic before the Ramsey news broke out.
Even before Ramsey, I wouldn't have been panicking on the Rams just because of Sean McVay and his talent with coaching a football team. I really have faith in them to turn the season around and be a playoff team. Cowboys, and then obviously they added Jalen Ramsey, which just puts them over the top. Not worried about them whatsoever. Cowboys, kind of same thing. They've been extremely disappointed in the last 3 weeks. Dak Prescott came way back down to earth, but they have such a good roster. Jason Garrett's not a good coach, but they have the players, and I think Dak Prescott is enough to lead the Cowboys to probably a division-winning season. Might be tough there against the Eagles, though. Chargers is the team I'm panicking on, and I'm really heavily panicking on the Chargers. They have not looked good.
No.
Since Melvin Gordon came back, they've looked worse.
I was just going to say, the offense hasn't really been doing anything with Melvin Gordon in there.
There's really no good part of that team right now. The defense hasn't looked good. Keenan Allen was their lone bright spot at the beginning, and Austin Eckler really performed without Melvin Gordon, but obviously since Gordon's back, it's kind of nobody's really doing anything. But yeah, Keenan Allen over the past couple weeks has really tailed off. There's nothing impressive about this team at all. Losing a home game to a third-string quarterback on a depleted, pretty much bad Steelers team. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Defense still looks pretty good, but I won't defend them too much.
If you can't beat the Steelers that week, I don't see how you can beat any team moving forward. I'm really panicking on the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely like a prove-it game for the Chargers. I mean, they easily could and should have made a statement in that game saying that, hey, we're still here. The AFC's, I'm not going to say up in the air with New England and Kansas City, but as far as like the rest of the teams come playoff time, it is kind of up in the air, like who those 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th seeds are going to be. But yeah, I mean,
even their division, we thought the Chiefs were going to run away with it. They have 2 straight losses.
Yeah, exactly. This was a good chance to keep up in that division with the Chiefs, and they even knew that the Chiefs lost their 2nd straight game before the matchup, so that should have been some extra motivation, and it just didn't happen. I mean, that Steelers defense got off to a hot start, getting a couple early turnovers. One of them returned for a touchdown. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Devin Bush, but I mean, other than that, you still have Rivers, you still have Keenan Allen. Hunter Henry is back and looked great, by the way. He was a big mismatch for Pittsburgh's defense. But, I mean, yeah, Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler, that offense needed and should have put up points throughout that entire game, not just late in the 4th quarter when they ended up actually putting a couple touchdown drives together. I'm hitting the panic button for sure. Like, if we physically had one, I'd be smacking the crap out of it because the Chargers, I think they're done. Like, I would say they're done. It's rough. Their schedule doesn't get any easier going forward. So
Phillip Rivers isn't getting younger.
Phillip Rivers isn't getting any younger.
It's kind of their year.
Yeah. I'll say this was kind of the last chance. They have, like you said, finally have Melvin Gordon back, and the offense just has kind of struggled since he's come back. Austin Eckler was riding high. They might end up just kind of going back to Austin Eckler and see what happens the rest of the season. But
it's kind of an awkward phase with their star running back coming back, taking away carries from Eckler, who had previously been kind of carrying that offense. So I do think it does get a little bit better for the Chargers, but I don't see them winning many more games. They're not going to look as bad as they did against the Steelers, but they're going to struggle for the rest of the season. And this was a team and I'm sure many others had high expectations for coming into the season. We saw them make it to the playoffs last year, and they beat the Ravens at least. They won 1 playoff game, and they looked great all last season, and we had expectations they'd come back and kind of give the Chiefs a run for their money in the division, and it's really not the case. They've looked terrible. They're the worst team in the division right now.
Yeah, I mean, I like
not statistically, but
the Raiders look good.
Yeah,
Broncos are on 2 straight wins, so I mean it's kind of up for debate. But here's their games: so Titans, Bears, Packers, Raiders, Chiefs twice, Broncos, Jags, Vikings, and Raiders. They already played the Raiders once. Or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, 2 games against the Raiders, 2 games against the Chiefs. And then, teams like the Bears are in there, the Vikings, who also look very good. Not a lot of winnable games. Like the Titans this week, they should hopefully come out with a win. And other than that, surefire win again at the Jacksonville Jaguars late in the season. That could maybe be a confident, pick the Chargers to win that one. But with Minshew in there, hey, Foles could be back by then. Who knows? But not a lot of, for sure, winnable games for the Chargers. But real quick before we kind of transition again, I want to touch on the Cowboys because I'm kind of hesitating pushing the panic button on the Cowboys. And the main reason I'm not, despite all the injuries they have, like guys like Amari Cooper going down, Tyron Smith still on the injury report, probably not going to play this week. The division's wide open. Philly last week had a chance to kind of make a statement against Minnesota, and we kind of saw that weak spot get absolutely exposed by Kirk Cousins, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen. Their secondary is rough. And, I mean, this week, Sunday Night Football, Eagles come to Dallas, which it's kind of a shame that Dallas has a lot of these injuries because this is a huge game for the division, I think. But if I'm being honest, I like Dallas's overall roster a little better than Philly right now, I think. Yeah. I think it's a good opportunity for Dak and company to get back on track. They could definitely use Amari Cooper out there for sure, but I mean, I think Michael Gallup's shown a lot this year, so I'd still look for him to have a good game. Maybe Zeke gets going and gets some solid yards out of the backfield, but Philly's D-line is still very talented, but the secondary just got exposed by Kirk Cousins, who we already talked about in previous episodes, has looked very bad so far this season other than the last couple weeks. But yeah, man, I mean, that's kind of why I'm not totally panicking on Dallas yet, but starting 3-0 to very winnable games and then losing 3 straight games after that to more comparable competition, I would say. Not a great look for Dallas. Definitely should have beat the Jets last week, but kind of got embarrassed a little bit. But I think home field again this Sunday night, I think they'll be out for a little revenge game in a way, kind of proving the doubters that, hey, we're still here. that's not going to happen again. What happened to the Jets last week?
Yeah, like I said, I agree with you. Cowboys not panicking on them just yet, despite the 3 straight losses. But I don't think any team was more disappointed with the Jalen Ramsey trade than the Eagles. They desperately need help in their secondary, and Jalen Ramsey would have been a major upgrade for them. But how about the Jets beating the Cowboys? That was a surprise to me.
Darnold's
Sam
back,
Darnold is back.
See, this was a good point that I saw already. So basically, whole new offense with Sam Darnold in there.
Yeah.
You have guys like Nick Falk and Trevor Siemian played like that one half of football like in week 2. You're not using your like high level offense that you would be using with Sam Darnold's in there. So realistically, you had that first game of Sam Darnold tape that Dallas could have used to prepare for, and it's clear that the Jets brought out all the guns, all the weapons, all the great offensive plays that they kind of had at their disposal, and they just threw them all at Dallas, and they weren't ready. Robbie Anderson breaking off for a breakout, like 70-80 yard touchdown, I think it was. So I mean, kind of exposing the secondary a little bit, but yeah, the Jets didn't hold back on offense. They kind of threw everything at Dallas, and not having a lot of tape on Sam Darnold running the offense this year kind of came back to bite him, I think.
Here's something. Jets could potentially be a surprise playoff team here.
Their schedule's very easy.
Their schedule gets insanely easy over the next few weeks. Jaguars, Dolphins, Giants, Redskins, Raiders, Bengals, Dolphins again, Steelers are on there, and then the Bills, also Ravens, which is a tough game, but very easy end of season schedule for the Jets. They looked good.
That AFC East schedule is very easy. I mean, we already see it with New England a lot, but I mean, Buffalo as well in that division. I mean, I'm not going to segue too much, but Buffalo has a very easy schedule as well. So yeah, I mean, the AFC East could be potentially having multiple playoff teams for the first time in a while. So it'd definitely be interesting down the stretch.
Everyone counted the Jets out after Darnold was diagnosed with mono.
Yep.
And they could really turn this season around. Playoffs might be kind of a hot take, but they could end up winning maybe 7 or 8 games and putting together an impressive season.
Yeah, for sure. So anything else on those 3 teams? We kind of said the Rams are fine. No need to panic there. Chargers definitely looking pretty iffy, but NFC East, you still picking Dallas, do you think? I think we both kind of had Dallas in that division. Do you think? Yeah, probably over Philly. I mean, I love Philly's roster, but
I love Wentz. It's about Wentz for me.
Normally, if you have just like one like kind of hole in your team, you can usually get by it. But this secondary has just lost them several games this year, and it's especially in a passing league now. Like they need to make some moves regardless. And yeah, sorry Philly fans for not getting Jalen Ramsey. They kind of had your hope. You guys, I'm sure, were all kind of getting your hopes up. The media wasn't helping with that at all. But yeah, Ramsey's off to LA, and Philly has to still, I think, they need to find a solution at some point because it's not looking good so far.
Yeah, Cowboys at this point are just a more well put together team. I do think it's not out of the realm of possibility for both these teams to be in the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think Cowboys will take the division this year.
Okay, so that's kind of some off the field topics, going off some stuff from last week. Time to look ahead to week 7 here for the last part of the show. So having the matchups here in front of me, there's a couple that I'm actually kind of intrigued by and a little interested in. So a matchup here that I kind of am interested in looking at all the matchups here. The Oakland Raiders traveling off of a bye week to Lambeau to take on the Green Bay Packers. The Packers coming off a pretty ugly win on Monday Night Football last week. Many believe that Detroit should have won that game, but regardless, Green Bay gets the win. Oakland's looked pretty good. They got a couple wins in their last couple matchups. Again, had the bye week last week, so they're extra rested to take on Green Bay this week. And yeah, I mean they took care of that Chicago defense a few weeks ago in London. Josh Jacobs kind of having a field day running all over him. So I could definitely see that kind of happening again here potentially against Green Bay. Their rush defense hasn't really been great this year, so kind of getting that run game going early. The Raiders might have a chance here. Not sold on picking them for my upset this week, I don't think, but still an interesting matchup, one that I think is going to be a lot closer than people might think at like first glance. I don't think a lot of people are kind of sold on the Raiders yet.
Yeah,
so
people need to respect the Raiders a little bit more. They're not bad.
No, definitely, yeah. So I mean, that's kind of a matchup that kind of caught my eye. Definitely some other ones, but I mean, yeah. What do you got, man? You looking at any other ones?
Hate to be a homer here, but best matchup of the week is the Ravens and Seahawks. This is going to be such an exciting matchup.
I prove it game for Baltimore. This division is Baltimore's to lose. I think the AFC North.
For sure.
Cleveland's looks terrible at 2-4. Pittsburgh 2-4. Cincinnati's not doing anything this season. It's Baltimore's division to lose, but they have a couple tough games. I think they have Seattle and New England coming up here in their next matchup. So definitely a game that I think Baltimore should try to win if they can in Seattle.
Yeah, it's tough for any team at this point to take down Russell Wilson. He's just so great. But this nevertheless, it's going to be an exciting game. A lot of points will be scored. Two terrific offenses led by really exciting electric quarterbacks, and then defenses that have had a little bit of have been struggling a little bit containing other teams. So I'm really excited to see this one. Kind of the now quarterback in Russell Wilson. He's the best versus maybe the future in Lamar Jackson, the up-and-coming guy who's looked great. I'm really excited for this one, and like I said, I think it'll be close too. Seahawks probably going to pull it out though, because Russell Wilson having too good of a season. They did lose Disley though. That probably hurts a little bit, I would think.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely hurts. I mean, they have a guy in there, Luke Wilson, who I think will fill the void. Not completely, I don't think. But
Russell Wilson will make him good.
Yeah, I'll say. I mean, Luke Wilson actually was cut by the Seahawks, but they brought him back as soon as Will Disley went down. So he's been with the franchise a couple years. I definitely remember seeing him catching some passes from Russell Wilson in previous years. So, So I think Luke Wilson will fill the void a little bit, but definitely a big blow because Will Disley was a potential breakout candidate this season, playing very well so far. Just kind of looking at some other ones, I definitely agree, especially in the 425 slot. That'll be a really good matchup I like. Texans-Colts, I think that's going to be a good game too at 1 o'clock. I like that one a lot. I've been a big believer in the Texans, off to a slow start, but upsetting the Chiefs.
Figured it out.
Yeah, they definitely figured it out. They figured out how to protect Deshaun Watson, which I've been stressing for weeks is the key to success. So they did that against Kansas City last week, got the upset against Mahomes and company. So Texans going to try to keep the momentum going. In Indianapolis, though, another team off a bye, the Indianapolis Colts, also have looked very good, also upsetting the Chiefs a few weeks ago before their bye week. I mean, two really up-and-coming teams, division matchup, which I'm really excited about too.
Yeah.
We'll kind of have to see how it plays out, but
I think Watson's too hot. I think the Texans are going to win this one, but two good teams in the same division. Exciting.
It's something that's interesting about the Texans too. They've been focusing on the run game a little bit. They ran all over the Chiefs with Carlos Hyde last week, so I mean, the Colts, that's kind of been their recipe for success, ground and pound. That offensive line for Indianapolis is great. Run the ball with Marlon Mack and then kind of have Jacoby in there. Do some play-action passes. He makes the throws when he needs to, especially when T.Y. Hilton's healthy, which he obviously will be now. So another good matchup. I think it's going to be close. I would probably take Houston in this one just because of how hot Houston's looked the last couple weeks, putting up 50-plus points 2 weeks ago. Again, getting the upset against the Chiefs last week as well. So I'd probably take the Texans, but another one that I think is going to be really close and one that I'll definitely look out for.
Moving into the Sunday night matchup, we have the Eagles and Cowboys. Us living in Pennsylvania, there's bound to be a lot of people talking about this one. And it's going to be exciting. We touched on these teams earlier. They're both a little depleted in certain areas. They've been somewhat disappointing at points this season. Should be a close game. They're playing for control of the division. So, I think we both said we'd take the Cowboys as well in that one. But nevertheless, it'll be exciting to watch. Now moving into the weekly upsets of the week. Last week, we both got back on track. Myself picking the Houston Texans to take down the Chiefs. Deshaun Watson again looked great. And the Chiefs went down for 2 straight. And you picked the Lions over the Packers, so you said we're counting that one as a win.
Yeah, easily should have been a win. The Lions got screwed by the refs last game. Really no other way to put it. Not going to go into it too much, so I'm getting a dub for that one. I don't care.
Awful call. We'll give it to you. Yeah. Right, viewers.
So, we're going to look into this week now, so I'll kick things off. I like the Bears upsetting the Saints in this week's matchup. Bears, well-rested defense, coming off a bye, going to be dangerous and causing some problems for the Saints offense. Alvin Kamara is a little banged up, and Mitch Trubisky's back. So I could see a very New York Jets situation this week, starting quarterbacks out for the last few weeks. He's back now. I'm going to pretty much just throw the entire offense out on the opposing defense now with Trubisky back. So I don't think Trubisky's going to overwhelm anybody, put a crap ton of points on the board, but I think the defense does what they normally do. Trubisky still puts up some decent numbers, and the Bears will get this win at home this week.
All right, time for my favorite part of the week. Only have one miss this season. Got back on track last week with Deshaun Watson and the Texans. So I need to keep the hot streak going. Originally, I was going to go Bengals with their first win over the Jaguars. We had some camera difficulties, and I take that as a sign to change my pick.
The technical difficulties saved him from that pick.
My heart felt this pick, and I went with the easier selection, so I'm going back to it. The Jets are going to take down the Patriots and give them their first loss of the season. Sam Darnold is going to come out slinging.
Monday Night Football.
They're going to keep it going. They took down the Cowboys that are going to take down the Patriots. I think Tom Brady gets a slap in the face. Their defense comes out and surprisingly just makes the night difficult for Tom Brady. He's not able to do anything. The Patriots defense is stout. but not good enough to stop Sam Darnold on Monday night.
So the Jets are the best team in football if that happens then, right?
Officially,
Top
if they
of the
win
power
this
rankings?
game, yes, they move immediately to number 1.
Absolutely.
Upset of the week, my biggest potential upset this far, and I'm feeling confident about it. Sam Darnold, Le'Veon Bell, don't let me down.
I don't hate it. Don't think it's going to happen either, but I don't hate it. I honestly like that better than the Cincinnati Bengals because I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that team wins the game until A.J. Green comes back.
It was a sign. It was a sign. I do believe the Bengals are going to win, but that game is boring. Nobody cares about those teams. Monday Night Showdown, Sam Darnold
is back.
Let's go. Mono cannot stop this guy.
Mono
made him better.
Mono only made him better. So he's going to come out slinging it. I'm excited. Definitely going to be a matchup that I'll try to watch. But, yeah, that's all we got. So, Bears and Jets, look out for them if you're looking for any upsets this week. Definitely proved our cases, I think, for both of those. That's where we're going to wrap it up like we always do, ending with the upsets of the week. Thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Link in the bottom of the description there for our power rankings. We update those every single week, as well as the Heated Sports website and social medias. Make sure you guys go give those a follow. Let us know what you think so far of the podcast. And yeah, just a quick announcement. We're going to be taking a week off next week. I'm going to be down in Florida with the family. So taking a week off, but we're going to be right back with it 2 weeks from now. Having a lot of content to kind of cover that happened within the last 2 weeks then. So expect a longer episode in 2 weeks, but thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you then.
Don't go anywhere, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe.
See you guys. Thanks so much.